Hello, it's the holidays. It's cold outside. I'm drinking and eating too much. That's okay. Everything is fine. Everything is good. I'm doing a test stream, just fucking around. I don't even know if anyone's going to show up to this damn thing, but I want to see how the video comes through on my channel. I want to see if the quality is good. I've been using Restream this whole time. I think it's affecting my video quality fucking badly. It's a weird thing. The only place where my videos come up in high def is on VK, which is absolutely strange to me. I don't know why they get the high def video and nobody else can get that right. Whatever. I'm trying to make it so that when I pop up on here, when I pop up on YouTube, everything looks as good as possible. It'll take as little effort from myself to get it going. God damn it, I'll get it right one of these days. Right now, I want to expound on a little of my Christmas prep that I didn't get around to. Santa and Odin. Christmas and Yule. I wonder if anybody's here. I wonder if anybody's watching. Say things in chat if you are. You know, it sucks that, YouTube's going pretty hard on me. They're screwing me pretty good. My other channel, I don't know if I should just, name it here or not. You guys know what the fuck it is. You know who I am. I'm Yakov. My other channel it's doing very well as far as numbers and analytics and all of that. It just got monetized. But frankly, that's not very useful without streaming. So it is what it is. Well, let's move forward with this. Let's read a little bit. There's you boys. Santa Claus and Odin. Looks like they're almost twins. This is an article from sonsofvikings.com. They make all this fucking pagang shit. Cool. Was Santa Claus partially inspired by Odin? First things first. 1. We are not denying the obvious influence of St. Nicholas, who gave to the poor during the 3rd century. However, St. Nicholas did not have gift-making elves or flying capabilities. This article is a look at the interesting similarities between the fictitious character of Santa Claus and Odin of Norse mythology. 2. Few historians disagree that many of our current Christmas traditions, decorating trees, wreaths, mistletoe, etc., can be traced back to Yule, or Jule. Oh man, I want to hit a Jule right now. I don't have it on me. A popular Scandinavian holiday with connections to the Norse god Odin. Evidence of this would be the many popular Christmas carols that mention Yule, Yuletide, Yule log, etc. While history shows that the church replaced popular pagan holidays with new Christian holidays that focus on Christ, many of the original Yule traditions continued through the years. 3. With this obvious overlap of Yule on Christmas, it makes sense to consider how Norse mythology also speaks of Norse gods flying through the sky on animal-drawn chariots, Odin being known for giving away gifts, magical elves who were specifically known as being makers of gifts, Thor's hammer being one of them, and the fact that these gift-making elves were referred to as Odin's men. Add to this the other similarities listed, and well, you decide. The gods flying around in chariots pulled by animals, that is common in many cultures. You see that in the Old Testament scriptures, you see that obviously in Norse mythology, and you see it in the Vimanas of Vedic spirituality. And then the gift-making elves, I think that's very interesting too. I've been talking a lot about mushrooms, and some of it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. But if you go to the works of Terence McKenna and stuff like that, he thinks elves and gift making are tied together intrinsically, in that when he blasts off on the fucking DMT and goes to the spirit world or whatever the fuck he was doing, he would meet elves there that he was calling the machine elves, and they would create things for him, things that were not material, but they were beautiful, and that they were tangible where he was. There were things made of sounds and energy and vibration and light, and these elves that he would meet would make them for him. He would describe it as a Fabergé egg, I think is what he said. Those eggs that are super decorative and intricate, and so they would make these things out of sound and love and light, and then they would ask him to do it. And he said that when you're in these altered states of consciousness, sound can have a whole new characteristic to it, and that it can create like something visible and something tangible before you. And I don't know if you've ever eaten enough acid or mushrooms, there might be something to that. But let's get the fuck off this degenerate tangent. Here we have, once again, Odin and Santa hanging out together as bros, being bros. Odin and Santa sharing their similarities at a Yule festival. Modern Christmas is a fusion of traditions from many cultures and has both Christian and pre-Christian elements. One of the most prevalent being Yule. To some, Yule is considered a holy period and/or festival that lasts 12 winter days and nights. Christmas, December 25th, typically falls in the middle of Yule. Like other winter solstice days, it celebrates the promise of light again triumphing over darkness and the rebirth of the sun. And that's why it's always tied to the sun god. And it's when the sun god dies and then is resurrected, because then the sun hits its lowest point and rises again. During Yule, all the gods are honored, especially Odin, who is also referred to as Jolfeor. I can't say this stuff, so it means Yule Father. That's what's important. Yule is known as a time in which family and friends would strengthen their ties to each other through hospitality, feasting, drinking, gift-giving, and making merry in the face of the privations and dangers of winter. Here we see an image of Odin's wild hunt, titties everywhere, all sorts of chaos going on, but a controlled chaos. They know what they're doing. So, is Odin the Yule Father? Is Odin the Yule Father possibly a secondary influence to the fictitious character of Santa Claus, Father Christmas? At first glance, the comparison seems ridiculous. What could a jolly fat man who slips down chimneys to bring children presents possibly have to do with the one-eyed, raven-flanked Viking god of war? Upon closer examination, however, the similarities between the two become clearer. When we look past our modern advertisement-adjusted image of Santa Claus to more traditional images, such as the vintage postcard seen here with Santa in blue, and in the 5 similar vintage postcards seen below, which I guess I'll get to, our comparison rapidly takes shape. Where are these postcards? Look at that guy. Look at that boy. That's an Odin. That's an Odin if I ever seen an Odin. I just want to know where Black Pete is. What about the bad children? Odin was known for taking on many forms and had many names, but one of his favorite forms was that of an old, white-bearded traveler clad in a cloak and broad-brimmed hat or hood. Odin used this attire as a disguise while he traversed the 9 worlds seeking knowledge, as seen in the black and white illustration by August Maelstrom, titled Odin's Hunt, pre-1901. This imagery of Odin was the one that any Viking would be familiar with. As for the original description of Santa, well before the Viking sentiments of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" in 1823, and before the major reinvention of Santa by Coca-Cola during the 1920s and 1930s, Santa was originally depicted as a tall, gaunt man with a fur-trimmed cloak and a broad-brimmed hat or hood who traveled on horseback. And in that black and white photo you see now, it is clear where a lot of this imagery came from. I was listening to Survive the Jive recently, and he was saying that internationally Christmas is taking on a very Germanic flavor, and it was seen as like the gold standard for what Christmas should be. Now they break out the giant Legos to fight trucks of peace, so I don't know. Maybe it's American. That's the thing. I think it came from Germany, and then that sort of Christmas, it became the prevalent Christmas in America. And then with the rise of America, and they got that because of all of the Nordic blood that immigrated to America. But then with the rise of America's like economic boom, then you have stuff like Hallmark and Coca-Cola taking over the mantle, and it's probably that commercialized Santa who's kind of infesting the rest of the world. Look at him, boys. Look at him again. Look at him. Santa Odin comparisons include: Odin crosses the skies during the Nights of Yule, rewarding the good and punishing the bad. The Vikings and other northern European peoples believed that Odin raced across the windy night skies, leading his pack of gods, elves, beasts, and ancestral spirits in a great hunt against the ice giants and the forces of darkness. You guys think the ice giants is Bigfoots? I do. This wild Bigfoot hunt, as it was often called, was linked to winter storms and even dangerous omens. While the wild hunt was on, those who provoked the ire of the gods could find themselves caught in bad luck, while those whom Odin favored would receive good fortune and gifts. Though the wild hunt could happen any winter's night, it was especially associated with the 12 nights of Yule. Santa crossing the night sky of the whole world on Christmas night shares similar imagery. Odin was known for having a flying, 8-legged horse. Odin's 8-legged flying horse is named Sleipnir, as seen in this 1,000-year-old stone carving found in Sweden. The concept of Santa using reindeer, 8 of them, interestingly enough, was first introduced to the Santa story in 1823 through the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas, aka 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I want to say that was the first source of Santa being called an elf. The jolly old elf. I think we went over that the other night on Skinwalker Tapes. Check out the Skinwalker Tapes episode, everybody. When going to war, Odin rode on Sleipnir's back. I mean, I'm fucking sure I'm saying that so retarded. I apologize, Odin. I'm sorry. Though many of the other Norse gods had chariots drawn by magical beasts, like Thor's goats or Freya's cats. I want the cat sleigh. I want that thing. The chariot of the cats. In snowy Scandinavia, a chariot would be replaced by a sleigh. 3 such sleighs were found in the famous Viking Osenberg ship burial. One of them shown below. Look at that boy. Even with the cutesy feel of the 'Twas the Night poem, some of Sleipnir's power is still acknowledged in that the reindeer have names that include Comet, Blitzen, meaning lightning, and Donder, meaning thunder. By the time the fictitious character of Santa was first being created, reindeer were well known as sleigh-pulling animals in Finland and other cold lands bordering the northern Scandinavian realms of the Viking homeland. Many writers make the further connection to old Nordic stories of children leaving straw and carrots in their boots as a gift for a hungry Sleipnir's I can't read, I'm sorry. Children leaving straw and carrots in their boots as a gift for a hungry Sleipnir, fresh from the wild hunt. I think it needed a comma is the problem. In exchange, they would find their boots filled with gifts in the morning. Fucking deer poop. This is thought to be the origin of modern treats for Santa and his reindeer in exchange for gift-stuffed stockings, boot-shaped, by the fireplace. However, we have yet to find any primary sources on this. I like the other explanation, how, like, it's a mushroom thing. They would get their mushrooms, and they'd, like, put them in, like, a stocking and hang it over the fireplace so they dried, and that's the origins of Christmas gifts, is everybody eating fucking mushrooms like it's a goddamn Fish concert. I believe it. Odin was a gift giver. Norse myth has many instances of Odin giving gifts to humankind, in addition to creating the world and giving people life and other things one might expect of a god. Odin would sometimes show up and provide a worthy person with some special item they needed. For example, in the Volsunga saga, Odin arrives in his now familiar disguise to give the hero Sigmund the gift of a magic sword. In the saga of Hrolf Kraki, Hrolf the Tall, King Hrolf refuses a gift of hospitality, armor, and weapons from an old bearded man with a missing eye, only to later realize the gift giver was Odin in disguise. Hrolf later dies as a result of not having these weapons. One of the many names for Odin was Oski, Wish Granter. Gift-making elves were referred to as Odin's men. The dwarves and elves of Norse mythology were commonly known to be the creators of wondrous things, such as Odin's magical spear, Gungnir, Thor's magical hammer, Mjolnir, sure, why not, and many other known gifts. Though Alfheim, the realm of the elves, was later gifted to the god Freyr, The elves always have had a special alliance with Odin. The Eddic poem, Thorsdrapa, Lay of Thor, refers to the elves as Odin's men. The Norse believed that Odin knew if they were bad or good. Odin was considered the far-seeing, all-knowing god of Norse mythology. He sent out his two ravens, Hugin and Munin, every morning to collect news from the 9 worlds, and every night these supernatural birds would report back to him. Odin would walk the earth, searching for wisdom and knowledge, and checking in on people that he favored, as well as the people he distrusted. Odin was also the chooser of the slain, who, along with Freya, chose who judged the worthiness of people to take place in Valhalla. I think the eye thing is very interesting, how he's considered the far-seeing and all-knowing god. He's also one-eyed. It makes me think of the one eye on the pyramid on the dollar bill, the all-seeing eye of Providence. It seems like that's a common attribute. The one eye is like a singular drive and like singular goals and like unchangingness, and that's something that's common to God also. I've also, when I was younger, I used to listen to a lot of Muslim conspiracy theories just because it was absolutely fascinating. I got a ton of that on the back burner. I don't even know what to do with it. But they were saying that the Dajjal, the Muslim Dajjal, who is their version of the Antichrist, is one-eyed. So I used to watch all these videos where they claim like the all-seeing eye in the pyramid was like the eye of the Antichrist, and that all of these old gods who had one eye were actually like the Antichrist coming in different forms throughout time and trying to like drive human history. They're saying Odin was one of them. Santa lives in the North Pole. Odin is said to live in a supernatural world called Asgard, a realm removed from our reality and only accessible by crossing the Bifrost Bridge or ascending the trunk of Yggdrasil. Odin often battles against the ice giants or frost giants. In comparison, a good portion of Scandinavia is inside of the Arctic Circle, uninhabited, frozen places in which life is nearly impossible. The early people of Scandinavia naturally equated those northern mountainous, inhospitable regions of the midnight sun and the northern lights as a place of magic and the land of the gods and giants. And of course, Vikings were commonly known as Northmen to the rest of the world at the time. Santa was originally called Father Christmas. One of Odin's most popular titles is that of the word Allfather. As previously mentioned, he is also called Jolfeor, Yule Father. I've heard this argument, but I can't make sense of it. I actually heard Survive the Jive say this, I think, or maybe it was the guy he was talking to on whatever show I was watching, saying Allfather literally means Christmas, and I don't understand that. Because, like, Christ is anointed, Mass is like the gathering. So it's like the gathering, or like the celebration of the anointed, who is Jesus. So, like, I understand how people can take the word, like, Christ and have pagan connotations to it, because many things are anointed. I don't understand how Allfather gets you there. I don't get it. Maybe it's just I don't understand. Maybe it's just because, maybe they're equating Yule to Christmas, so by calling him the father of Yule, he's Father Christmas? I don't really understand what they're saying. Folklorist Margaret Baker stated the following: the appearance of Santa Claus, or Father Christmas, whose day is the 25th of December, owes much to Odin, the old blue-hooded, cloaked, white-bearded gift-bringer of the North, who rode the midwinter sky on his 8-footed steed, Sleipnir, visiting his people with gifts. Odin, over time, transformed into Father Christmas, then Santa Claus. Prospered with St. Nicholas and the Christ Child, and became a leading player on the Christmas stage. Get your pay-gang shit. Buy that pay-gang shit. Consider what Santa Claus would have meant to our earlier ancestors. Santa symbolized facing hardship, for winter is a time of great hardship in agrarian societies, with protection, abundance, generosity, and joy. These same qualities were also inherent in the writings of Odin, who is not merely the god of war, but also of poetry and wisdom, and the embodiment of gift-giving and heroic stoicism. I think it's interesting that in all of these cultures, uh, it's like there's something very, very meaningful about the warrior poet. The warrior poet is something you see come up again and again. It's like it's its own archetype, really. Hinduism, you have Arjuna, who was the archer going to battle, who Krishna laid out the yoga system to. But he's like mentioned as being like a very spiritual and emotional person, as well as one of the best warriors in all of the land. In the Old Testament, you have King David. King David wrote Psalms, which is a book of songs, which you could say is basically just his poetry. But he was also one of the greatest warriors in the land, supposedly. And now we see the same thing with Odin. I'm trying to think of any others off the top of my head. I'd say that you could attribute this to a lot of the founding fathers of America. They seem to hold a lot of that. You know, in the same men who are fighting against what they're seeing as like tyranny and all of that. Then they go on to write what I really do believe is one of the greatest governmental documents in all of history. And like, you know, it's not perfect. Granted, we've gone astray. I think that fucking document is really good, and it's basically poetic in its simplicity. The Constitution, I mean, obviously. Santa Claus is a complex, cultural conglomerated character. He has many evolving points of origin. Scandinavian and Germanic myth, Saint Nicholas of the 3rd century Eastern Roman Empire, medieval and later folk forms like Sinterklaas and other regional variations, Victorian poems and etchings, even the Coca-Cola ads of the 1930s, and all other pop culture since then. Christmas comparisons to Yule. Carols and caroling. Though they were almost certainly of a very different character than our Christmas carols. The Norse sang Yule carols. Nordic children would wear masks and go door to door among their neighbors singing carols. Nights of magic, magical creatures, and holiday miracles. Vikings believed that the time around Yule was magical, especially at night. As in Celtic Samhain, the barrier between our world and the supernatural world was at its thinnest. Spirits could travel the forest and fields. Elves, dwarves, and other beings were active and could become involved in the affairs of humans. These various spirits and beings could sometimes bring blessings or justice to humans who needed it, and who showed them their due respect. Our Christmas imagery of nocturnal magic, such as the Nutcracker or the spiritual journeys of Ebenezer Scrooge, are stories from a much later time, but their feeling and themes would have been perfectly familiar to the Vikings. Speaking of these old-timey stories of magic and appearances, I would like to do more Christmas ghost stories. I think that's what I'm going to do. Right after I finish this, I'm going to record a Christmas ghost story. So hopefully that'll be up soon. It's coming! Gifts of cakes and sweets. These items were offered to the Fates, Norns, and Mother, fertility and nurturing. I don't know what the hell I'm reading. I'm going to read that again. Oh, it's to the forces. I'm going to read that again. I'm going to make sense of it this time. These items were offered to the Fates, Norns, and Mother, fertility and nurturing forces that probably originated with older Indo-European cults, but suffused the Aesir goddesses of the Viking Age, such as Freya and Frigg. To be honest, I have no idea what I just read. So they're giving gifts of cakes and sweets to the fertility goddesses. So it's probably, I guess, so it's like a sacrifice to ensure that the sun returns, basically, I guess, is what I'm getting out of that. That's cool. So that's why I ate too many fucking chocolate-covered pretzels last night. That's exactly why. It was for the gods and shit. Veneration of goddesses. To many Christians, Mary is an especially important Christmas character and often receives special attention. The Vikings were the same regarding their emphasis of the female deities and the celebration of deity motherhood around Yule. That's another thing that's so this is all kind of coming together for me. The female is always symbolic of nature and like prosperity in this material realm. In Hinduism, you see like the father figure, like the true god, like Shiva. Shiva is like beyond beyonds. You can't understand Shiva, and Shiva doesn't. you can't even make sense of Shiva really with like the material world, but like Shakti is like the force of nature basically, which is feminine. And I think the reason that women are nature is because you come forth through your mother into the world. She is the veil between the ether and this world that you are born into, was your mother. Wreaths. One Yule tradition involved making large wheels of pine boughs, lighting them on fire and rolling them down a hill in honor of the sun. The round shape of wreaths also depicted the cyclical nature of the seasons and of the Norse conception of the cosmos and time. That sounds absolutely badass. Just getting a giant pine bough, lighting that bitch up. It sounds so cool, dude. Why do we just have like these lame traditions left? It's all just about Coca-Cola and iPads. Man, I went like Krampus and setting shit on fire and like ghost stories and like I was gonna say like just drinking too much, but I do that anyway. Yule logs. At the Yule feast, Vikings would burn large logs of oak inscribed with runes for good fortune in the coming year. Oak is the hardest of woods, and so these logs would burn long and hot throughout the night to gladden the feast and to chase the darkness away. Drinking. Drink! Christmas and New Year are the main times of year that conspicuous drinking of alcohol becomes more socially acceptable. The Vikings celebrated Yule with nights on end of drinking mead and specially brewed ales from animal horns and sometimes the skulls of their enemies. Mead is too sweet for me. Like that honey wine and all that shit, I don't like that stuff either. But who knows what it tasted like back then? Probably a man's drink. Mistletoe. Loki, the god of mischief and misfortune, murdered Baldur, who was one of the most beloved of the gods, with a spear made from mistletoe. Huh, that's interesting. I've heard the Baldur connection to Jesus. And then when you hear like he was murdered with a spear, it almost takes you to like Jesus being stabbed with the spear on the cross. A little different. He wasn't murdered from it, but the mistletoe berries later became a symbol of love in the epilogue of the same story, hence the tradition of kissing under it. Baldur's death was also supposed to lead to rebirth after Ragnarok, in keeping with the theme of Yule. That sounds very Jesus-y too. So you have Jesus die and he rises again, but it's not even that part. It's the fact that he died and he's supposed to return again one day to save us from the end of the world, which should be like in full swing by then. I guess that's the mainline interpretation, at least. I don't know how biblical it is. Christmas trees. Vikings decorated trees with food, gifts, and small carvings, particularly in honor of their gods. The tradition of lighting candles on trees was not documented until the early 19th century, and so we can hope that the ever-practical Vikings had better sense than that. What? Is that really... Are you saying it's like dangerous to put like a fire on a tree? Because I guess it can be, but something tells me it's probably like wet and cold and not likely to catch fire. It's probably still good. Don't set fire to trees, kids. Just don't do it. Holidays are a time when the traditions of our many ancestors come down to us in blended forms. Despite its diverse points of origins, Christmas is still a time in which people brave the cold to come together, strengthening the bonds of kinship and friendship. Think of their past and their future, and consider their spiritual place in the world. Coca-Cola. Here's a video we're not going to watch. Here's some references. Yeah, who gives a fuck? Yeah, this was a reading of... the hell is this called? Santa and Odin. Christmas and Yule. Yeah. It was from sonsofvikings.com. Who wrote this thing? Can I give anyone credit? Just says Sons of Vikings. No one's getting credit. I get credit now. I'm going to monetize the shit out of this video, and you're going to pay me. So that's what I need for Christmas. I need YouTube monies. So yeah, if you love me, the best way to support me right now is to go to teespring.com/stores/Yakov-alive and buy the fucking merch. I'm starving here. I'm starving. It's cold. My heat won't work. I need a hand in these hard times. Whatever. Thank you very much. If you were here watching this, I appreciate it. And anyone who watches in posterity, I love you too, and I hope you have a great holiday, even if you watch this in the dead of the summer. I hope it's a good one for you. Godspeed, everyone. Glad Yule. Goodbye.